We're going to start talking about dimensional analysis. That's where we're going to change units of certain measurements. For example, I know how much I make every year, but if I wanted to break it down to per day, sometimes that comes in handy. So that's what I want to talk about here. But before we do that, let's look at certain useful conversions. For example, I know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. I know there are 7 days in 1 week, 12 inches in 1 foot, 60 minutes in 1 hour. How many weeks are in a year? Oh, 52. I know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. I know that there are 24 hours in 1 day, 365 days in 1 year. And the last one that might get you is there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Now, here's a question that you need to think about. 60 seconds divided by 1 minute equals 7 days divided by 1 week equals 12 inches divided by a foot. Those are all equal statements. Number one, you're probably wondering, what? But number two, why does that work? Here's why it works. See this thing? Doesn't 60 seconds equal 1 minute? So if I divide 2 equal measurements, remember, a number divided by itself is 1. 7 days equals 1 week, so that equals 1. 12 inches is 1 foot, so again, that equals 1. So each of these measurements equals 1. Okay, big deal. What does that mean? Well, here's one thing it does mean. When you multiply a number by 1, doesn't its value stay the same? Yeah. So anytime you multiply by 1, you're keeping the same value. You're just changing the units. And you're thinking in your mind, Roby dear, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never done that before. And I'm going to say, yeah, you have. Think about this. When you add 1/2 to 1/4, what do you need in order to make that happen? Well, you need a common denominator, don't you? And the common denominator is going to be 4. This stays as is. But here, we need to multiply down here by 2. We need to multiply up there by 2. So I really multiplied by 2 divided by 2. Oh my gosh, there's a 1. So when you multiply by 1, it doesn't change the value. If anything, it'll just change the way it looks. So yeah, you've done this before. We've just snuck it in and you've never known. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to show you a few and we'll kind of figure it out from there. On average, Paul receives 8 text messages every 15 minutes. So here's what I want you to think about. We're going to look at 8 text messages per 15 minutes. It happens. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through. I want to know, how many text messages will Paul receive in 1 day? Well, I know how many he gets in a minute. I've got to find a way to turn that into how many he gets in a day. So we're going to use this thing called unit multipliers. And again, unit just means 1. So if we have 8 texts every 15 minutes, what I need to do is turn my denominator of minutes into days. And there are going to be certain steps involved there. So first, how can I turn minutes into days? Do you know how many minutes are in a day? I don't. I think there was some Broadway show about it, but I don't remember. But I do know how to turn minutes into hours. And now you're probably asking yourself why I wrote that the way I did. Well, if I have minutes down here, I need to be able to divide out by minutes up there. So I know that I can use some cancellation. How do minutes and hours relate again? Oh yeah, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Okay, so now I know I can figure out how many text messages he gets in an hour. Now I need to know how many he'll get in a day. So do I know a way to Do I know something that relates days and hours? Yeah, I do. I know that there are 24 hours in a day. So I have to figure out hours, day, hours. I don't know. What you need to do is look for where you were. So I've got hour here in the denominator. In order to get rid of the hour in the denominator, I'm going to need an hour in the numerator. And check it out, that does let me put day down here. And when I do that, this lets me take the hours down here, divide it out the hours up there. Okay. How do hours and days relate? Well, there are 24 hours in one day. So I have all the information that I need. So I'm going to multiply 8 times 60 times 24. And y'all, I'm going to keep my units in here just because it makes things easier for me. And then in the denominator, we have 15 times 1 times 1 day. Okay, so now I'm going to do the math. I'm going to get out my trusty calculator here. I've got 8 times 60 times 24. That's 11520 text messages. And then I've got, 15. I don't need to do that multiplication. I'm tripping. Okay, so let's get our final answer. We have to divide by, goodness gracious, what is going on? Okay, divided by 15. So this kid gets 768 text messages per day. Okay. I see what you're doing, Robadeer. I get some of it, but I'm still, this whole fraction thing is scaring me. You know, fractions really aren't everybody's favorite. I mean, they're my favorite, but things I want you to keep in mind, the important thing I want you to keep in mind is this, or let me tell you a story. And I told you this one earlier. I want you to see it. I was in a math competition, and they had us do this multiplication. And I need, we'll go ahead and put the last one in. I have room. Okay, so I'm thinking, so I go off to the side and do 1/2 times 2/3. That's 2/6, which is 1/3. Now I need to take 1/2 times 3/4. That's 3/12, which is 1/4. That I'm going through and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have time. And I happen to look over, and the person who's working with me, she saw that the 2 up here divides out the 2 down there. The 3 divides out the 3, the 4 divides out the 4, 5 divides out 5, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s. Look what's left, 1/10. So yeah, it's a fraction problem, but really it wasn't a fraction problem. It was more of an elimination problem. That's what we're doing here. Okay, so let's look at this next one. How many messages will he receive in 1 week? I could go back to minutes, but I'd rather go back to this one. If I have 768 text messages in 1 day, how many will we get in a week? So when we say per week, that means that week must be in the denominator. I need to totally get rid of the day. How can we eliminate the day that's in the numerator? Well, you need to introduce a day in the denominator, because when you do that, these will divide themselves out. And my final answer will be text per week. Okay, well, how do days and weeks relate? Well, there are 7 days in 1 week. So I'm going to do the math. I have 768 times 7 divided by 1. Oh, don't forget the units. They're sort of a big deal here. Okay, and then again, I'm going to multiply. So Paul receives 5,376 text messages per week. Back in the day, text messages were charged by the text that you sent. And for the longest time, the most expensive letter in the alphabet was the letter K. When your mom says, do the dishes, K. I'm running late to pick you up, K. I'm picking up dinner on the way home, K. And parents were in an uproar because they were sending their kids text messages who were replying K, and they were getting charged every single time. It's crazy, isn't it? Okay, moving on. Tina walks at a rate of 2.5 feet per second. Okay, so we're going to take 2.5 feet per second. And remember, I can put this invisible one there. And I need to find out how many feet she will walk in an hour. So I know that I'm going to need feet up here. And I'm going to need to put hours down there somehow. That's not very pretty. All right. So feet will stay the same. It's seconds that I need to change. So I need to turn seconds into hours. I don't know that number off the top of my head, so it's better for me to find an intermediary. So to get rid of seconds in the denominator, I need a seconds in the top, and seconds relates to what that you know? Well, I know it relates to minutes. And I know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. And look at what I just did. I was able to divide out my seconds. All right, I'm almost there. Now I need to go to hours. How do minutes relate to hours? And how can I get rid of minutes? Well, if there is a minute in the denominator, I need to introduce a minute in the numerator. And how can I relate minutes? Oh, I need hours, yeah. And I know there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. And look what that allowed to happen. That allowed me to divide out my minutes. And now we look at what's left over. We have 2.5 times 60 times 60 divided by 1. Oh, goodness. Don't forget your units there. All right. And when we do this, okay, so Tina's going to go 9,000 feet per hour. Or I should say in 1 hour. Yeah. Let's do that. I mean, I could say a week. You get the idea. Okay. So how many feet will she walk in 2 hours? See, I'm going to use this. If we have 9,000 feet in 1 hour, how far will she walk in 2 hours? And we'll put that over 1, right? Anytime you multiply by a fraction, you introduce a 1. So my hours are going to divide each other out. And I'm left with 9,000 times 2, which is 18,000, keep the units, feet. Okay. How many miles will she walk in an hour, in 1 hour? So let's bring this rate back. So we have 9,000 feet in 1 hour. And I want to turn that into miles. Okay? So that means we need to get rid of feet. And do you see here how feet is in the numerator? The only way to get rid of feet in the numerator is to introduce it in the denominator. And how do feet and miles relate? Well, I know in 1 mile, there are 5,280 feet. So my feet here, divide out my feet here, and I am left with 9,000 miles divided by 5,280 hours. And now we just carry out the division. 9,000 divided by 5,280. So we get 1.7045 miles in 1 hour. There it is. So in an hour, she goes almost 2 miles. Number 3, on average, Jamie eats 3 packs of fruit snacks in 4 hours. At this rate, how many fruit snacks will she eat in 1 week? All right, so that's what we need to look up. We have 3 packs in 1 week. No, just kidding. 4 hours. My bad. All right. So how many will she eat in a week? Do you know how many hours are in a week? I don't. But I know I can get there by jumping through some time frames in between. Okay. So I'm going to keep my packs, and I want to turn that into how many she eats in a week. Okay. So I need to change my hours. To get rid of the hour in the denominator, I'm going to introduce an hour in the numerator. Okay, but what am I turning hours into? Well, in order to get into weeks, I probably should try to go into a day first. And I know there are 24 hours in 1 day. So here we go. Hour, took out hour. All right. I'm at day, but I need week. So now I need to do a little more multiplication. To get rid of a day in the denominator, I need to introduce a day in the numerator. And how do days and weeks relate? Well, there are 7 days in 1 week. So now we're going to do our multiplication. And, since I already have that set up there so nicely, I'm just going to multiply. So let's take 3 times 24 times 7. We get 504 packs. Ooh, look how nice that is. And then 4 times 1. So I need to take 504, divide it by 4, and I get 126. So she will eat 126 packs in 1 week. In 1 week, per week, whatever the case may be. All right. How many will she eat in a year? Well, let's take our 126 packs that she eats in 1 week, and let's turn that into years. Okay. How do we relate weeks to years? Well, I know that there are 52 weeks in 1 year. And how did I know to put weeks in the numerator? Well, I knew to put weeks in the numerator because that was the only way to take out the weeks in the denominator. Okay, so now I just do my math. 126 times 52. Whoa, we get 6,552 packs of fruit snacks. Oh, good grief. Come on, Robodeer. Packs in a year. There it is. And we can't really judge her because, you get a box of Gushers and they're gone in 2 days. And how many's in there? Yeah. Okay. So let's look at the next page or the next side. Okay. On average, Tina walks at a rate of 2.5 feet per second. At this rate, how many feet will she walk in an hour? I feel like we just did this one. We did. What in the world? All right. So maybe I just want you to know about a unit multiplier. Oh, good. We'll skip that for now. It's the same thing. But I think I'm just telling you that I'm changing the measurement. All right. On average, American students are in class 1,650 minutes per school week. Now, we're not going to use 7 days a week here because during the school week, you're only in class for 5 days. Okay, so how many hours per day is this? So we're going to go from 1,650 minutes per week Whoa, Robodeer, you have me doing minutes and weeks, and then I've got to go to hours per day. Yeah, you do. Okay, so now you have a choice. Let's convert these one at a time. Do you want to convert minutes to hours, or do you want to convert weeks to days? Let's go ahead and knock out minutes to hours. Okay, so to get rid of the minute in the numerator, we introduce a minute in the denominator. And we need to turn that into hours. So how do hours and minutes relate? Well, there's 1 hour that equals 60 minutes. And so the cool point, the thing here is my minutes divide out. Okay? Now I need to look at my weeks. I need weeks to turn into day. So to get rid of the weeks in the numerator, I introduce a week in the denominator, and we want to turn this to day. So week, how do they relate? Well, in 1 week, there are 7 days. So I'm going to get 1,650 hours per, 60 times 7 is 420 days. So my calculator, 1,650 divided by 420. So that's 3.92. Okay, I really want to check something. 7 times 6 is 42. Okay, so that equals, or it's about equal to, I really should do that. Look at me fancy. This is 3.9. What does the 8 tell the 2 to do? Go up to 3. So 3.93. I did it. Dude, I totally messed this up. Remember, there are 5 days? Man. So this needs to be a 5. And what's 60 times 5? 300. Oh, man. I even warned us. Said, be careful. Let's make sure we do 5 days a week instead of 7. And what did I do? I did 7. Good grief, y'all. I'm so sorry. So we're going to take 1650 divided by 3. So this is 550 hours No. 1650 divided by 300. Okay, if I said 5.5 hours per day, dude, that can't work. There are only 24 hours in a day. So it's 5.5 hours. Goodness, all my mistakes are going to be trapped forever on the internet. Let that be a lesson to you. 5.5 hours per day. Which really is what you are in school for. Think about it. You know, each class is 90 minutes. You're in for 4 hours. When you get back in, you know, a 90-minute block, you have 4 of them. That's 3 hours, 6 hours. 3, 4, 3, yeah. Okay, how many seconds per week is this? So let's take our 1,650 minutes per 1 week, and let's turn this into seconds. All right, so to get rid of the minutes in the numerator, I need to introduce the minutes in the denominator. And what I want to do is convert it to seconds. And I know there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. And the cool part of this is minutes divide out minutes. So I need to take 1,650 and multiply by 60. And I'll get 99,000 seconds per week. And you know, some days it feels longer. You'll see when you know, it's crazy. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for dimensional analysis. Just remember, when you want to change units, use fractions. But we're not using fractions in the way that you think. We're using fractions so that we can see if there are units that we can eliminate from each other. So we're using unit multipliers here. And, you know, that's everything.